So hello and thank you so much for joining us and welcome to today's webinar, How to Manage Your Personal Brand, offered by Oregon State University Alumni Association in partnership with Oregon State's Professional and Continuing Education Unit. I'm Paula Matano. I'm a program manager for the Professional and Continuing Education, and we're also joined by Yuliya Dennis from the Alumni Association and Assistant Partnership Manager for International University Alliance, Ashley Ward. So I'll let Yuliya go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. OSU PACE has been a great partner, and we're really excited to continue the career development series with them. Your brand is important. It communicates where you've been and where you're going, and we're really excited to be sharing about this important topic with you. So I serve as the Director of Alumni Career Services at the OSU Alumni Association. I'm very eager to help out with career development and career engagement. I love this work. This is a great topic, and we are excited to provide this to you today. And then I'm going to be introducing to you my co-presenter, Ashley Ward, and she is an amazing volunteer with the Alumni Association. She's one of our alumni career ambassadors, and I'm so excited to have her here today. Ashley, thank you so much for your time, and I'll let you introduce yourself now as well.
Hi, Yuliya. Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Ashley Ward, and I'm an Oregon State alum from the class of 2011. Studied English, literature, and writing, so spent a lot of time in Moreland Hall. My career has been in higher ed, and right now I'm working for the International University Alliance, which is an organization that specializes in providing access to U.S. universities for international students and helps universities internationalize and diversify their student bodies. Yeah, very happy to be here, and I'm excited to dive into this topic. I think it's really important. And just for your reference, we are recording this webinar. You can feel free to write your questions in the chat box below. If we can, we'll answer them during, but we've also reserved some time at the end of the presentation to make sure that all of your questions have been addressed. We'll be sending out a link to the presentation recording after it's completed, and that would be a great way for you to even share this with your colleagues and your friends that you think would benefit from it.
Thank you, Ashley. That was great. So I want to provide a little bit about the OSU Alumni Association career services and programs that we offer to alumni. It's a wonderful resource that all alumni have access to. And obviously this webinar here is for students and OSU faculty, staff, and friends of the university and other community members. So this will be a focus primarily on those who are part of the alumni community. And we offer a lot of opportunities to help alumni engage with their career goals, as well as helping students and other alumni with theirs. My work is really broad in the sense that it's anything dealing with career development for the alumni community, and I do consultations, resume reviews, and you can get a free resume review with me. Just email me your resume and I can take a look at it. We offer online events such as this one and online career connections. We also do in-person events, so we have a wide variety of resources that are here for you. And if you need any kind of career development assistance, please reach out to me. I'm very eager and happy to help you out.
All right, so yeah, we're all here to learn about personal branding, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about why this matters, like why we're focusing on this topic. And something that I was really thinking about, that even if you're not conscious about your personal brand, or if you don't think that that's something you're actively seeking to polish, you have one. Everyone is, exuding out into the world their persona, and that is really informing the people that we're interacting with, who we are, what we care about, what our values are. And so Yuliya and I really want to encourage you to be very intentional about this, because you have a personal brand, whether you want to believe it or not. So yeah, let's just be intentional and focus on this and make sure that the message that we're sending out there is the right one. And something that I really admire about Yuliya, she is a huge advocate for making a plan. because obviously a goal without a plan is just a wish. And so we're here to help you make proactive steps in the right direction.
Thank you, Ashley. So the first step really for any of this kind of work, and really in any time you're trying to make a change in your life, this is the first step. So it's self-reflection. And this is really a question about who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, where you've been, where you're going. Some questions to ask are, what are your goals? What do you want to be known for? What are some of your values? What are you passionate about? What can others say about you? And this kind of work can take a little bit of time, and you do have to be thoughtful about, okay, who am I as a person? Where do I want to go? And what I tell people too is, even if let's say you love your job and you're totally happy with it, or you love your life as it is and you're totally happy with it, that's excellent. But what, do other people know what you love? Like, because so much of our life is about these connections with other people, and it really starts with an understanding of our own selves and what we're about, and then communicating that out. And if you need any assistance with the self-reflection part, I love to help people think about these broader questions, and I'm happy to have to talk to you, so you can reach out to me and we can see about where you are and where you'd like to go with these sorts of questions.
So this next piece is really taking that reflection, that work that you've done to look internally and see what's at your core and what's important to you, and compare it with your life now and with what you have out there, like what you already have. And it's interesting to see if those two things are matching up. I'd like to challenge you to go through your presence on the internet, through all your social media accounts, through LinkedIn, and try to imagine if you were a complete stranger who didn't know you at all, and all that you could see were these posts. What would you determine about yourself? Like, are your passions showing through? Are the things that you really value and care about displayed, or is a different message being sent out? So yeah, I really want you to think about that. Something that I have been thinking about a lot, as far as, when you meet with someone for the first time, or when you have an interview with someone, is that they will not know anything about you unless you tell them. And that kind of goes the other way too, is, they're not going to know about your values unless it's stated. And also, they're going to assume things about you if you, like, say you spend too much time posting or talking about something that you don't really care about, or you don't necessarily want to be known for. So yeah, I think this is definitely an important part of self-reflection, is knowing what you want to have out there, and then comparing it with what you are already putting out into the world.
Great, thank you so much, Ashley. I loved specifically 2 points that you made. One is the idea of having a stranger looking at your information, and then the other is that people don't know something about you unless you tell them. I think that's such a powerful message. I really appreciate you sharing that today with our audience. So the next one is a personal favorite of mine. So making a plan. I think that planning maximizes success, and especially action items. I'm all about this idea that you have an idea, you think about something you want to have happen, and you make a plan, and then you follow up with that plan. And the first thing really to consider is, when should you do this? So when should you create a personalized branding plan, and when is it the best time for that? So if you're reinventing, reimagining, or reinforcing any of your current goals, whether it be personal or professional, then that's a great time to create a personal branding plan. And so what we'll do is we'll talk about what would that plan include. Some things to consider is, with all of these things, you're essentially demonstrating your value, what you've accomplished, what you'd like to do, and you want to be pretty intentional about what those things are. So at the most, you might be focusing on maybe 3 things, maybe 5 if you really have a lot that you are really interested in, but maybe just 3 things that you want to focus on, values, ideas, or things you'd want to do. And so plan would include a concrete timeline. So that means you know when you're going to do something. Manageable steps, tasks to complete, creating a schedule, and then feasible goals. So what I generally tell people is something is not a goal, and if something is not, it can't be evaluated unless another person who does not know your thought process can see you doing it and can check off, yes, you've accomplished this. So if I say my goal is to think about LinkedIn, well, that's not really a plan. But if my goal is update my profile to include the things that I've been recently working on, well, someone else can go through and say, oh yeah, Yuliya, I saw it. I can see on her profile she did this, check. So those are things to consider when you're creating a plan for yourself.
Another thing that is a great thing that you can do and have time to prepare for ahead of time, do your research and make sure that you have prepared something of value, is an elevator speech and a short bio. So the elevator speech is so useful, and I think that once you have started giving this some more thought and you've really articulated for yourself a great 30-second elevator speech, you'll realize how often you're using this, like how often you meet someone new and they ask, so what do you do? And instead of just kind of giving a broad overview that doesn't really tell what's important about your job or what you really care about and what you do, you can really be thoughtful about this. So I encourage you to do that. And you kind of have to practice, because it's amazing how far you can get past the 30-second mark and go into like a minute and a half. So yeah, practice it. Give your elevator speech to a family member and see how it goes. I actually have been writing a lot of short bios recently, and I think it's really good to have like the bare bones, like a structure of a bio for yourself, but also make sure that you're able to edit these and polish them according to who your audience is. It's great to have these on file. It's a great thing to include on your LinkedIn profile. I think you'll get a lot of use out of these if you have one already prepared. Another thing that would be a great challenge for yourself and will help you in making those really concise elevator speeches about yourself is creating an outline for yourself, who you are, and then a short timeline of where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. I've been involved in, interviewing students for graduate school. And, there's that really common question of, okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And it's amazing how many people will go back to, where they were raised or where they went to high school. Things that don't necessarily contribute to like what we're doing now, or doesn't add value to the conversation or make sense in the context that we're speaking. So I encourage you, when you're making an outline for yourself, trim it up, go through it and edit it. You don't need to tell your whole life story. You don't need to tell superfluous information. If there is, a short job stint that doesn't necessarily look well on you in your career, leave it out. You don't have to tell every detail. So I encourage you to be concise and to stick to the pivotal moments in your career that really show who you are, what you're about, and where you'd like to go. And in that outline, it is okay to talk about your accomplishments. It's not bragging. It's not being prideful. Because like I said, people are not going to know these things about you unless you tell them. So yeah, feel free to highlight some big accomplishments, some things that you're proud of, some things that you, even things that you worked with on a team together. You don't have to be the only person that worked on a project in order to talk about it and be proud of it as a highlight in your life or in your career.
That was excellent. I super highly recommend that people consider doing that. And again, even if you're just standing still, like in the sense of like you're not wanting to change jobs or you're not looking to drastically change anything about your life, it's still great to have that concise description of who you are as a person. So thank you, Ashley, so much for sharing that. So the next part is, who do you want to connect with? So much of career success and really life success, if we think about it, is about connections, about relationships, and knowing people. And for me, it comes down to authentic relationship building. So some things to think about when you're considering who you want to connect with is that consistency matters. So being consistent with your message, and that can take time. It's okay that it may take maybe months to really think about what is your message and who do you want to connect with and what does that look like. The other thing is that impressions matter, especially first impressions. And this can be hard at first. It can be hard at first to reach out to new people. It can be hard at first to get through that barrier. In general, what I find is people love to connect with other people, especially if you're asking them questions about themselves. They want to share. And that's a really great way to not only grow your network, but also to better understand what are other people branding themselves as in the industry or in your company or in the sphere or the work sphere that you're looking to engage with. So some things that you can do is make or update a list of people that you would like to engage with or connect with, and keeping in touch with key people at past organizations, or simply connect with someone who's an industry influencer. And so, for example, I can share that like Ashley and I knew each other because we used to work together. So we worked together, then we reconnected back. We're part of other groups, informal groups together, and then now we're in this unique relationship where she's volunteering with some of the programs that I'm doing, and then she's growing herself and her career. So all these things, we never really know where they end up being, but it's that authentic relationship where you get to know another person, you find out what they're interested in, you support each other. Those are the sorts of things that successful careers and personal lives are made of. And so I encourage you to think of it as that way. And definitely, and we'll talk more about this later, but definitely it's not about I need this and I'm going to get this from you. So that is very much not what we're advocating for. And actually, we'll talk a little bit more about sort of the philosophy of connecting with people, what it means. And we're also going to do another webinar together in the future that we'll send out information after this one about networking and connecting with other people, just because it is a big topic. And if you understand this part of career and life success, I think that you'll see lots of different positive things come forward in your life. And so happy to dig more into that, and we'll talk more throughout this presentation as well.
Yeah, so it's all about cultivating relationships, and yeah, just as Yuliya said, it's not this gimme relationship. It really does need to be a give and take. So as you connect with new people, I want you to really be conscious that you need to develop that relationship first. So as you connect with them, be really diligent about your follow-up. Add them on LinkedIn, send them a nice email shortly after you meet them. Stay in the top of mind for them. Remind them of something you talked about. Show that you really were listening when you met, and that's all. It's really important to reconnect with those connections after you've made them. So this doesn't have to be sending out another, cold email out of the blue. This can be just engaging with them on their LinkedIn profile. You could be commenting or sharing something that they've posted, giving a little bit of encouragement here or there, like, hey, I see a project that you're working on, and I think that's really cool. I want to encourage you that with your connections that you cultivate healthy reciprocal relationships, and don't make it all about connecting for the sake of an ask. Don't be too eager to make your first outreach to that person be asking for a favor. And I think if we could just imagine ourselves in the other person's shoes, we could kind of see how that could be in poor taste. Like if you're at a job and someone that you just met reaches out to you and is like, hey, I'm applying for a job in that organization. Can you give me a recommendation? And it's like, well, really, if you don't have a personal background with that person, it is not necessarily a good idea to stick your neck out and be a recommendation for someone that you can't actually vouch for. You don't really know their character and you haven't seen them in the workplace. So I guess just be mindful of that and be respectful to your connections, and try not to ask for favors prematurely before you have established a rapport and a relationship with them. And yeah, we definitely encourage you to join and attend conferences, and attend the same conferences more than once. That's been a great experience for me, is that, that second time visiting a conference, where now you can recognize those industry leaders and see people that you've been, following on social media or LinkedIn, and you have more to talk about now. And sometimes that can really be, like, the second time you meet can really be the spark that makes a connection really bloom into a good professional relationship. I have been using LinkedIn over the last few years pretty actively. What I do, so if I've gone to a conference and I have a stack of business cards, instead of sending out an email, I'll go out and I'll find them on LinkedIn. This is a great way because you're not going to lose them. You're always going to stay connected this way. The photo is attached. I think that helps a lot in memory recall. So they can be like, oh yeah, I did meet you, and this is what we talked about. And then it's a great way for you to also reconnect from time to time and make sure that you're engaging with them. I just also think it's great to keep an eye on the industry. This is where you can see the movers and the shakers and where they're going, their promotions. And I definitely encourage you to be using LinkedIn to its full potential. It's really a great tool.
And then tied to that is connecting with the industry that you either are part of or that you want to go into. So social media is wonderful for that, whether it be a LinkedIn or Twitter. So I personally love using Twitter because I use Twitter as essentially a visual representation of my interests, my passion, and those things that matter most to me. And I do combine some personal elements to it, just because I do think there's a value for people knowing some things about you as a person and not just only professional things. So social media is great for those industry connections. And then you can share content of others. I encourage you to also consider creating your own content, but that's not always doable or possible with time and other things that you may have going on in your life. So sharing the content of others is a great way to build that relationship, and also to get to know the things that are current in the field, as well as demonstrate to other people that you value the work that they're doing. Something too that you can do is you can comment on other people's posts or reshare. That can be another way to connect with the industry. A tool that I think is phenomenal, and I recommend it to every single person I talk to, is information interviews. So if you really want to have an in-depth understanding of the industry, and you want to build up your connections, and you want to build up your personal brand, then an information interview is the way to go. So all it is you connect with someone, and it can be as short as a 15-minute phone conversation. It can be coffee, it can be lunch, whatever, however it is that you're able to talk to someone. And you ask them questions about where they've been, where they're going, what the current things are in the industry, things about their company, whatever, anything that you can use to just get to know them as a person and also the industry. And then those are some things that can help guide you as you're thinking about, okay, let's say you're switching industries. Well, talking to people and asking them the big things that are happening can guide you in, okay, what do I want to pursue learning about? We recognize that time is not infinite, so it's not possible to look into and follow every single thing that's happening in the world. So it can help shape the publications you might read or what you might post, etc. But it's a wonderful tool, and I highly recommend that you do information interviews. And I, even now, so like I love my job, I love what I do. It's very engaging for me, but I still do information interviews just because someone else might be doing something that I'm really interested in. I want to know more. I want to know about what they're doing, and it helps create that bond, and helps you. It helps increase the power of your network and the things that you're eager to work on.
Definitely, I agree with everything you just said, Yuliya. Yeah, and going back to what to do after you've done that self-reflection and after you have more of an idea of who you are and what you want to be known for, I encourage you to do kind of a deep dive into your own social media and just review what you have out there. Now that we've all been active on Facebook for, some of us 10 plus years, there's a lot of stuff on there that we don't necessarily want or need associated with our personal brand or in how we're known as a professional. So yeah, I encourage you to go through. You can update privacy settings. You don't necessarily even have to delete things, but just change who they're visible to. A really good tool is actually signing out of everything and then searching for your accounts without being logged in. And that can give you a good idea of just what anyone would be able to see on your social media profile without being connected with you. Because it's essentially anything that you put online is anything that you would do or say at a public park. It's accessible, people can find it really easily, and it's informing people about you. It's creating your identity in the minds of others. So you want to make sure that the message that you're putting out there is consistent and is a positive one. It's one that actually reflects you and your values and what you stand for.
So we did have a question come in just to clarify the informational interviews. Yuliya, did you want to? We're talking about setting up a meeting with individuals and just to get a little bit more information about their jobs.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so what I was referencing before is it's called an informational interview, and I would be happy to send information to all of you after the webinar about some tips for that, because I do think it's a great tool. So it is reaching out to someone. It may be someone you already know, maybe someone that you've never met, or it could be a connection. Like, let's say someone knows someone else in a company and you want to know more about that company. So you reach out to them or you're introduced, and then you ask them a series of questions that are up to you to ask. For example, what do you do? How did you get into the field? What are some of your goals? What are you working on? What do you like about your work, etc. Things like that.
Thank you very much.
All right, so yeah, let's just go through and do a quick summary of what we've covered so far. We have a few things for you to do now. You have some homework. Reflect on your goals. Have some clarity about who you are, what are your values, what's your foundation, and where do you want to go next. I think it's so helpful to have a clear understanding of how you want to present yourself and what you want to be known for. Because if you don't have a clear understanding, it's it would be hard to say if anyone else would be able to have a clear understanding of who you are and what your goals are if your message is mixed or inconsistent. So definitely create or update your 30-second elevator speech. Review your online presence, and then proactively, now that you're sure that the information that you're putting out there is your best face, you're putting your best foot forward, then connect with others in your industry. On LinkedIn, sometimes if you don't have a mutual connection with somebody, you won't be able to connect with them, but you can still follow them. So you can see what they're posting, see what they're talking about, and that's a great way to engage and stay current on what's going on in your industry. Use social media as a tool to share your values, your expertise, and your interest areas. This is a great way to to spark up conversations and to show what you're interested in and to show where you want to go in your career, in your life. It's kind of a longer planned, or a longer idea of the elevator speech is you're telling people what you care about and what you're interested in over time. And this is how people can get to know you. And I really liked what Yuliya said too about being able to still share some personal things on Twitter and on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be all business all the time. People want to hear your personal voice, and they want there to be some some humanity, some human aspect behind what you're saying. It helps you to be accessible, helps you to be approachable, and people will want to engage with you more if they can relate to you more on a personal level. And then lastly, through all of that, just make sure that you're consistent in the messages that you're sending. I know a lot of people are tempted to use their social media platforms as a way to, as a way to vent perhaps, or to get something off of their chest. But if you just keep that in mind, that that everything you do is informing others about who you are and what you care about and what kind of person you're like, and just be careful about what you're putting out there, that it is in alignment with what your values are and how you want to be known. I just I really want to thank Yuliya and the OSU Alumni Association and Career Services for allowing me to be a part of this webinar. It's really fun for me to stay connected with the Oregon State alumni and to just be involved. It's been fun to interact with Yuliya throughout. I think we've known each other for over 4 years now in different capacities, and we're in book clubs, and we're doing this alumni association ambassadors program together, and I'm just loving it. It's adding a lot of value to my life. It's giving me an opportunity to do professional development outside of my immediate workspace, which is really refreshing. So I encourage you to get involved if that's something that you're interested in. Contact Yuliya, use the services that are available there, and then volunteer if that's something that you're up for, because it's definitely been a great experience for me.
Thank you so much, Ashley. So we do have a few questions that are coming in, Yuliya. Do you mind if I just sort of send these your way? So we have one person here who's asking that they made a connection with a person they met at an event on LinkedIn, but the person is not active, so there's no post sharing or likes. So how do they maintain a connection with her using LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's excellent. So what I'd recommend in that case, if someone's inactive, which that does happen, especially with a platform like LinkedIn, sometimes people go on vacation, or sometimes they decide not to post very often, and that can be a common occurrence. So in this case, what I'd recommend is, if it's someone that you are eager to get to know, and let's say they have something in the past or they're currently doing something that you really want to know more about, go ahead and reach out to them via the messaging and say, hey, I saw that you're working on this. I think it's really interesting. You can ask them a question. So in the past, like in some cases, if I didn't want to do a formal informational interview with someone, I would say, hey, I noticed this on your profile. I noticed that a while back you had posted this article. I just want to say I think that's so cool, and it really helped inform me about the industry, and I really appreciate it. Or in some cases, if it's someone you do want to get to know and you want to have an active connection with, then you might invite them for the informational interview and just say, hey, I saw that you have this in your career history, and I would love to know more about this. I'm currently exploring or getting to know this industry, and then connect with them that way. So there's a variety of ways, and it's okay if they're not someone who's actively posting consistently, because that you will find that's the case with some people.
Great, thank you. And Ashley, we had somebody ask, so what are some of the talking points that should be included in the elevator speech and bio?
That's a really good question. So the one that everybody wants to know first is, like, where do you work and what do you do? So just make sure that you will be able to clearly articulate not only like the facts, kind of like the drier pieces of information that would be the same for everybody. What you really want to spend your time on cultivating is, like, how do you describe it? How do you, like, in a sentence, how do you describe what you do and what you love most about it? Yeah, I guess I would encourage you to perhaps write it out in a more of a skeletal format, just the facts, just the bare bones, and then fill it in with some keywords or phrases that resonate with you and really are able to depict why you're in this line of work and why you like your job and what you want to do in the future.
Thank you so much. So, does any of the advice that you guys have shared with us today, does that change if someone's interested in a complete reboot or change in personal direction? So for someone who's in a late career position and isn't really sure if they're even interested in working in the same industry that they've been in for so long, how would you guys pivot some of this information you shared today for that?
So that is a very, very great question. I would say that it doesn't, so regardless of where you're at, the information we shared is true and consider good, considerable things to think about no matter where you are. So if you're completely switching industries, then it would still be true. If you're very happy with where you're at, this is also still very true. So what you're developing is a consistent message for yourself toward first internally, and then you're sending it out into the world. And so it doesn't, no matter where you are, and you could be a current student in your first year of college, and this would still be true for you. And you could be 70 and deciding maybe I want to start a side business just because I want to be re-engaged with something. Any of those things, this can still be true. And now, if you're in a position where you're not sure exactly how something applies to you, or if you're in a position where you're doing something new and you're not sure about the steps you need to do to take to keep going, then reach out to me. I mean, even if I'm not the person who can best help you, I will help you figure out who that person is. But especially if you're an OSU alum, like I would be more than glad to help you with this question. And I have experience helping all kinds of people in all kinds of situations, so I would be more than glad to work with you on this. And that's a really great question.
Great, thank you. Have either of you found any common advice around personal brand management that you actually don't agree with?
Ashley,
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think of something.
We can come back to that one too. So
Yeah, thank you.
I will say too, I think because of the nature of personal branding, I think the messages I've seen about personal branding have been pretty consistent from other people just because consistency is such an important thing to the whole branding idea. So Ashley, I don't know if you found that to be true, that it's pretty consistent.
I think so too. Nothing is coming to mind that I haven't agreed with.
Thank you guys. And so then we had one more person ask, so is it a better strategy to have more LinkedIn connections, so a broader network, maybe aren't as knowledgeable about your profession, or to have a smaller, more specific group of people?
That's glad to help. Yeah. Ashley, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. I just wanted to say, so recently I had the opportunity to write an article for an organization in my industry. And it was really cool because on LinkedIn, you can see who's viewing it and who's liking it and who's sharing it. And because I have been more liberal in my connections, not only making connections within my industry, but branching out like with different colleagues, different people that you meet. It was really cool to see like throughout Oregon and then even throughout the country where the message was able to spread and who was impacted by it and who was now engaging with me. I don't know. So I really enjoy that aspect, and I think it enriches my experience, at least, to have a more broad audience and to have like the information in my LinkedIn feed be more diverse and not quite so focused on my specific area of industry.
Thank you, Ashley. And
what do you think, Yuliya?
Yeah, I'll share my perspective. So I have and mine is unique because I am in a position where I do serve a very diverse audience of people, and so for me, the more the merrier. I wanna help everyone, and I'm not gonna limit who I help because I think that that's not part of my core values, I guess. And so I think the more the merrier. So I will connect with anyone who's eager to connect with me. Now, I will say that if you can make a personalized message and say, hey, I met you here, or I like that you're doing this, then it helps me to remember you more. But that being said, I'm still very open to who I connect with. But I also very much respect if someone doesn't want to do that. So you are the owner of your story. You're the owner of the information that you send out into the world. And if you decide that actually, let's say you work in the sciences and you only want to connect with people in the sciences, great. That is your right to select. I personally don't choose to view it that way, but I deeply respect people who do decide to go that route.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, next step. So I'm very action focused, and so I want to give you 2 things that you can do following the webinar. So one is if you're OSU alumni, students, staff, or faculty, you can join the OSU Beaver Careers LinkedIn group. So the link is right there. You can also message me via email or via LinkedIn one takeaway from the webinar, and we'll send you an OSU Alumni Association window sticker, and you can be entered to win a free career consultation. So I've had someone win it every webinar that I've done so far, and they've gotten a lot of value out of that. So I encourage you to do that. The other thing you can do is if you have a resume, a cover letter, or a LinkedIn profile that you want reviewed, I offer free resume reviews and cover letter and LinkedIn profile reviews to all alumni. And so just email it to me, and I'm happy to take a look at it. Now, if you're an OSU student, you can send it to the Career Development Center at OSU, and they would be glad to do the same service for you. So those are just a couple action items for you that you can do. And then here's my contact information. As I said, I do enthusiastically want to help people, and so do reach out to me via email. And I'd also like to just pause a little bit and say a really huge thank you to Ashley, and thank you to all of you for attending and being part of this with us. So Ashley is an amazing alumni career ambassador, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to partner with her and to have her share her expertise in this area with all of you. And my personal and professional motto is to engage in what matters and to help others do the same. And so it's really an honor for me to work with Ashley in this capacity and other alumni as they work on their own career development in their professional life and discovering what it is that they want to do and what their talents are. So it's been just a really wonderful thing to work with Ashley. I'm really grateful for that. And really thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to keep assisting you and working with you on whatever it is that you need in your life right now.
Well, thank you both so much. And just to reiterate, we've had a few people ask, if you jumped in late or if you're wondering, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar after the fact. So thanks again. And so I'm Paula. I'm the program manager here at Professional and Continuing Education, and we really love partnering with the Alumni Association on these webinars and on a lot of other programs that we get to work with Yuliya here at. So Oregon State PACE engages the community through educational opportunities for both personal enrichment and professional development. So I know some of you had been asking about career changes or sort of starting in a different track. We do offer hundreds of courses and certificate programs, and they're open to the public, so you don't need to be matriculated at the university to join. And our programs are really dedicated to offering tangible value through quality programming that addresses educational, professional, and economic development goals for you and for your organization. So we do corporate training here as well. And so I wanted to invite you guys to take a look at some of our programs that are available and things that are coming up. So we have our Business Administration Certificate that's starting on January 15th. And in this one, you're going to learn essential skills around human resources, finance, marketing, and more to manage a successful business. And that one actually starts on January 15th with our finance accounting class. And we're very pleased to partner with the College of Business in offering that certificate. We also have our Leadership Development Certificate, which is focusing around tips and strategies for effective leadership through improved communication, increased emotional and cultural intelligence, and managing organizational change. So that's really great if you are in a new leadership position or if you're looking to grow within your organization and take on more of a supervisor role. This would be a really nice certificate to round out those skills. And then also starting on March 5th, we have our Digital Brand Management Certificate. And this is one of our most popular certificate programs. We do tend to fill up, so I encourage you to check out that program. It's a very real-world focus, and it's driven by industry-leading marketing pros. Each course offers immediate benefits, which range from sort of improved marketing results for your organization, but also to serious career advancement opportunities. PACE is pretty excited to have helped a lot of our students grow within their organizations through our digital brand certificate. And this program is neat because it connects you with experts that you'll learn today's digital marketing best practices, such as Microsoft, Oregonian Media Group, Adidas, and Wieden & Kennedy. So like I was saying, you'll get immediate returns on your skills. You'll diversify and extend your resume and your skills with some of these certificates. And you do get the benefit of state-of-the-art technology with the online education that's offered through Oregon State University and here at PACE. So again, I wanted to say thank you to Yuliya and Ashley. We really appreciated having you guys here and hosting you. This was a great webinar, and I think people got a lot out of it. If you have questions about the program or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. You can give me a call at that number or just send me an email. I'm happy to be a resource for any questions that you may have. So thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.